today's headlines. Poor not puppets to be manipulated. Go vows continued service despite VP bid. Cushion oil price hike, DOE tells PNOC. Foreign tourists still not allowed in the Philippines. Draft MOA on joint drug probes under study. Bulacan, Apayao, Capiz now under GCQ. 1 million tourism workers need jobs. Gang kidnaps 15 U.S. missionaries in Haiti. Good morning, I am Venice Bautista and this is Tribune News on Q. Today is October 18, 2021 and these are the latest news this Monday morning. Aksyon Demokratiko flag bearer Manila Mayor Isko over the weekend decried the low regard of his rivals for his candidacy, saying he has heard many condescending words anent his impoverished beginnings right after declaring his bid for the presidency next year. They probably can't accept the fact that among the serious contenders is a former garbage collector from the slums of Tondo. They who were born with a golden spoon in their mouths, they who have a moral ascendancy, and they can't accept that fact, Moreno said at the sidelines of his visit to Lipa City last Saturday. Born to poor parents, Moreno admitted he is hurt that even to this day and age, those belonging to higher society continue to widen the societal gap by denying those who come from the poor sector equal chance and opportunity to serve the country or at least give the highest position in the land a shot. The mayor pointed out that for the past 30 years, the political scene in the country had been dominated by the feud between two rival families that did not the country do good, in apparent reference to the continued Marcos Aquino squabble. Moreno stressed that he is running not to exact vengeance on anyone or any political family, but to truly offer hope to all Filipinos that there is still a chance for a much better life, believing that everything he had done for Manilans can be replicated in the entire country. The mayor said his life is an open book and he is not ashamed of his past as a garbage collector and a slum dweller in Tondo, saying he rose above the situation through hard work and reached more than what he aimed for, all on his own and without the backing of any family member, occupying a high place in government. Senator Christopher Bongo on Sunday said his mission to serve with compassion continues even as he bids for the vice presidency in next year's national and local elections. Go said in his weekly column going forward that all his efforts are in fulfillment of his role as a bridge between the poor, the needy, the hopeless, and the helpless on one side, and the government and the public servants on the other, so they can make sure that the people's needs will be provided, their concerns will be addressed, and their voices will be heard. The former presidential aide said that his decades-long track record of public service speaks for itself. Whether as an ally or a supporter, Go said he always strives to provide the best kind of service that he can, whenever he can, and as fast as he can. While he knows that politics is all around them, good or bad, they should channel their energies to the very essence of why they seek public office, and that is to provide genuine public service, he said, stressing that no Filipinos should be left behind. The senator said he does not want to be remembered as just another senator or vice president if he gets elected. He said he wants to be remembered as a public servant who ordinary Filipinos can relate to and approach, ever ready to serve with compassion for the betterment of the country. As chair of the Senate Committee on Health, Go has been visiting various health facilities to check on their operations and provide solutions to enhance their capabilities while ensuring better access to health care, especially for poor and indigent patients. The senator vowed to champion those who have less in life, making sure that their needs are met. The Department of Energy wants the government-owned Philippine National Oil Company, or PNOC, to step in to cushion the persistent domestic oil price hike, hurting the consumers' pockets. Since the DOE cannot unbundle pump prices by amending the outdated Downstream Oil Industry Deregulation Act of 1998, Energy Secretary Alfonso G. Cusi said his office focuses on securing more reserves. Cusi said in a text message that they are working on a strategic measure to protect the country from oil supply disruption. Also, they want PNOC to participate in the petroleum retail chain for alternative reserve, if not competition. 3 years ago, he ordered for the unbundling of oil prices. Unfortunately, the oil companies were able to get a TRO from the court, preventing them to implement the order, he added. Last month, the DOE issued Department Circular DC 2021-090028, established the Philippine Strategic Petroleum Reserve Program. Dated September 16, the order seeks to reduce the country's dependence on the importation of crude oil and finished petroleum products to meet local fuel requirements. It also wants to protect consumers from international market volatility. In 2019, the PNOC had already been directed to establish a strategic petroleum reserve, which should consist of large stockpiles of crude oil as well as petroleum products stored in facilities located around the country and possibly overseas. The reserves should be released during periods of local or international oil supply disruptions. Tribune News on Q will be back after these short reminders.
Boto Moto Halalan 2022, the Daily Tribune special coverage.
Magandang araw mga katribu! Narito na ang mga makakasama nyo tuwing umaga sa programang Gising Na. Roy Pelevelo, Comfy Manalo, Atty. Lia Badillo Crisostomo, Vernon Velasco, Kim Sancha at Jerk Balagtas. Abangan ang programang Gising Na mula alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga sa Facebook page ng Daily Tribune.
Ilabas ng mainit na kape at samahan kami sa inyong pag-almusal, mga katribo.
Sama-sama natin alamin ang mga natatagong istorya sa mga latest na kaganapan sa loob at labas ng bansa.
Simulan natin ang bawat umaga with good vibes sa mga informative and recreational segments ng aming programa.
Maaari niyo rin ibahagi sa amin ang inyong opinion via Daily Tribune Facebook page at Tribune Now sa YouTube.
Makichika na rin sa latest showbiz happenings, mga katribo.
Kaya naman, magkita-kita po tayo mula Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 8 hanggang alas 9 ng umaga at magsama-sama po tayo sa
Gising Na!
Boto Moto Halalan 2022, the Daily Tribune special coverage.
We're back on Tribune News on Q. The Bureau of Immigration yesterday clarified foreign tourists are still not allowed to enter the country even if they are coming from green list countries. Immigration Commissioner Jaime Morente said only Filipinos, balikbayans, and those with valid and existing long-term visas from green and yellow list countries are allowed to enter the country. Morente reiterated this advice after the Bureau received numerous inquiries from foreign tourists who are interested in flying to the Philippines. He added Filipinos coming from red list countries may return via repatriation flights and bayanihan flights organized by government or non-government agencies. Last Friday, the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases released an updated list of green, yellow, and red list countries. The updated list will be effective from October 16 to 31, 2021. The Department of Justice has submitted the draft agreement that will allow the National Bureau of Investigation and Philippine National Police to conduct joint probes on cases of suspects who allegedly fought back and died during anti-drug operations. Justice Secretary Menardo Guevara said Undersecretary Adrian Sugay has given the draft of the Memorandum of Agreement to the NBI and PNP. Guevara said the law enforcement agencies will be given about a week to beef up the MOA and include operational matters they deem necessary. While the MOA only covers joint investigations of deaths that took place during the anti-drug operations, they can expand their scope of collaboration. The memorandum was drawn up after the DOJ completed its review of 51 cases of killings associated with anti-drug operations. The result of the review has been submitted to President Rodrigo Duterte. And both the PNP and DOJ agreed to turn over the result of the review to the NBI for case buildup. A total of 153 cops had been identified to involved in the cases, and their administrative liability had been determined by the PNP Internal Affairs Service. The Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases on Sunday downgraded the quarantine status in the provinces of Bulacan, Apayao, and Capiz to general community quarantine. The Interagency Task Force approved the recommendation to put Bulacan, Apayao, and Capiz under general community quarantine from October 18 to 31, 2021, Presidential Spokesperson Harry Roque said. Bulacan and Apayao were initially placed under Modified Enhanced Community Quarantine, while Capiz was initially placed under GCQ with heightened restrictions. Meanwhile, 9 provinces are still under MECQ, 7 are in Luzon, while the remaining 2 provinces are in Mindanao. These are Batanes, Bataan, Cavite, Rizal, Laguna, Naga City, Kalinga, Zamboanga City, and Zamboanga del Norte. Dr. Joshua Brillantes, Regional Director of Department of Health, Region 9, previously said that Zamboanga Peninsula is currently experiencing a surge in COVID-19 cases. For the past weeks, especially for Zamboanga City and Zamboanga del Norte, they experienced a surge in COVID cases, Brillantes said in an interview. The region's hospitalization rate is also at critical risk, with bed utilization at 87%. And the local government unit of Zamboanga City also announced that it will convert its isolation facilities to cater to COVID-19 patients with mild to moderate cases. The city government is going to convert some of the isolation facilities to become step-down and step-up facilities where our patients, instead of bringing them to the hospitals, those exhibiting mild to moderate symptoms, Zamboanga City's COVID-19 Task Force spokesperson Kenneth Beldua said. Beldua said that the city is running out of oxygen supply but assured that the issue has been reached to the national government. Tribune News on Q will be back. Stay with us.
Botomoto Halalan 2022, the Daily Tribune special coverage.
It's time for the all-new season of the Athletes Tribune. Non-stop revelations.
Gusto namin itanong ngayon kung ano ba yung status mo ngayon with your team, with Santa Lucia.
Diretsahang usapan.
Let's talk about the national team. And alam po namin na hindi ka nakasama sa original crews. Medyo nagulat ka pa doon.
And exciting updates.
Kamusta ba ang puso ni Nika Reyes?
Abangan ngayong Lunes ang 3-time UAAP champion at multi-awarded middle blocker, isa sa mga pinakahinahangaan sa Philippine Volleyball, Nika Reyes. Ngayong Lunes na, October 18, 7 p.m. sa pina-exciting na season ng The Athletes Tribune.
Botomoto Halalan 2022, the Daily Tribune special coverage.
You are still watching Tribune News on Q. In other news, the Department of Tourism has announced that nearly 99% of the 44,234 hotel workers in Metro Manila are already vaccinated against the coronavirus disease 2019. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat said they also expect that other hotel and tourism workers who will return to their work will also be fully vaccinated. She said in Filipino over the weekend that they expect that as more of tourism-related establishments reopen, as the COVID-19 cases go down, more of tourism workers would have jobs. So far, only 44,234 hotel workers are active, with many still working under flexi setups. Puyat said the vaccination of returning workers should be prioritized, noting that over 1 million tourism workers had lost their jobs because of the pandemic. She said that before the pandemic, there were 5.7 million tourism workers, but the number fell to 4.6 million on account of business closures. The DOT chief welcomed government's decision to further ease quarantine restrictions in the National Capital Region to Alert Level 3 on account of dropping COVID-19 cases and to gradually reopen the economy. For our world news, about 15 American missionaries and family members were kidnapped on Saturday by a gang outside the Haitian capital, a local security source told AFP. The group of between 15 and 17 people, including children, were being held by an armed gang, which for months has been engaged in theft and kidnappings in the area between Port-au-Prince and the border with the Dominican Republic, the source said. A spokesperson for the U.S. government declined to provide any information. The welfare and society and citizens abroad is one of the highest priorities of the Department of State, the official said, and they are aware of these reports and have nothing additional to offer at this time. Armed gangs, which for years have controlled the poorest districts of the Haitian capital, have extended their hold to other parts of Port-au-Prince and its surroundings, sowing terror with kidnappings. More than 600 kidnappings were recorded in the first 3 quarters of 2021, compared with 231 over the same period last year, according to the Center for Analysis and Research in Human Rights, a civil society group based in the Haitian capital. And that wraps up the stories this morning. Before we go, we would like to thank the SM Store, Arnada Center, Department of Tourism, MG Motors, Hina Motors, Security Bank, and Overseas Community Affairs Council member Alan Lin of Republic of China for their continued support. Again, this is Venice Bautista and you are watching Tribune News on Q. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay at home. Good morning!
Botomoto Halalan 2022, the Daily Tribune special coverage.